Yeah, it's really hard because your brain tries to comprehend. I feel like that's why we get chills and we kind of feel a little bit of a panic because it doesn't fit. We know what our world is, and then this thing that doesn't fit this world. The first time I saw the troll, I had seen it where like its back moved, and I'm like, "What is that?" Like it was so off. Didn't look like anything on the scenery. Yeah, yeah, kind of like if you're looking at CGI, but it's like, yeah, it's like CGI, and your brain is trying to like process it. And with the troll, the reason it was so impacting is because the cat was real. The cat wasn't look like our dimension. Okay, the stray cat, yeah, stray cat was our dimension, and then the CGI looking troll, and then he grabs it and starts slamming it, and I'm like, what? And the cat, you know how cats cry, like, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yes, and many children see them too. About 75% of the world's children today are being born with etheric vision. And when your children talk with people and have daydream playmates, the chances are they are actually speaking to some of these people. Because these angels or angelic forces or nature spirits, as they're often called, will often make themselves seen.
Whatever it is, it looks every bit like a fairy and very little like anything else.
But seriously, it kind of looks like a fairy. It just kind of doesn't look like your standard mall.
I know that the paranormal is real. Listen.
But I wasn't going to make this video until I looked a little bit closer and I realized after it lands behind my bench, it disappears. And it just vanishes. And in fact, I went outside to look, to try to find it, to see if it was trash, to see if it was a bug, to see if it was a leaf, like trying to figure out what it could be, and it was gone. It just vanished.
What's that? Yeah. What's what? Yeah, look. Right up there. Insect or something.
Is that an insect? Let's have a look. What is it?
I don't know. Oh my god!
Ugh.
What happens to people who cut down fairy thorns?
Did you see it? Huh? Did you see it?
Yeah, me and him saw it.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like around 10 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard?
The paranormal is real. Is it? The paranormal is real.
Welcome everybody tonight to Fascinating Fae. Tonight, we're traveling back to Texas for a conversation with Vicky. Vicky, how are you doing this fine evening?
Hi, I'm doing good.
I'm really glad to hear that. So for the audience, I'm really excited to bring Vicky on. One of the ways that I go about trying to contact people that have seen the Fae, would be to use social media sites such as Reddit. And Vicky originally grabbed my attention with a very captivating and detailed description, to a request I had in some paranormal threads asking for people to tell me their fairy stories. So, I already had a pretty good brief in bringing Vicky on, but we just had a really remarkable pre-conversation that got me super excited as well. So, Vicky, before I bring you on the show, something that I just like to remind my guests of as we begin the show process. Here at Fascinating Fae, we're not here to convince anybody of anything. It's a podcast that's here to collect amazing and incredible stories of people that have seen and interacted with the Fae. I like to let my guests have lots of time and room to talk about themselves in context, because I think individual selves have a lot to do with the Fae. I think encounters that ensue for people quite a lot of the time. Not always, but quite a lot of the time. So feel free to talk about yourself as much as you feel comfortable. And then, of course, talking about stories, really, when they involve the Fae, can be difficult at times. So just a reminder, like, if I tell my story, I sound incredible. I have a lot of empathy for people that are here to tell their stories. And I do think, Vicky, that you're very brave to talk with me and to share your story with the audience here today. So with all those prompts, just before I bring you on here, I'll just finish with a couple of last words, and then we'll let you get started. Vicky's going to start off by talking about her early childhood encounters with the Fae, which are pretty remarkable. And there's some strong reactions from her family that she gave me a tease on, which remind me of my episode with Danielle. So we're going to start there. Once we're done talking about the Fae in an earlier part of Vicky's life, we are going to get to the story that captured my attention on Reddit, which takes place in Mexico. So with those two efforts at helping structure this conversation, and thank you for letting me give this intro. Again, thank you so much for being here, Vicky. Vicky, please let the audience know a little bit about yourself and your early childhood Fae experiences to start, if you would be so kind.
Yeah, all right. So I think when I first encountered Faye, and for me, it was imaginary friends, but then they would actually move things. I was either around 6 or 8, and we lived in a trailer. And I remember on the ceiling, there was 2 little dips that looked kind of like footprints. And I had told my mom, "Look, what are those?" And she's the one that joked with me, "Oh, those are dwarves." But she didn't believe in those things. She was just telling me just to play. And I'm like, "Oh, those are dwarves." And I as like days and weeks went by, I would hear feet like running, and in trailers you can totally feel it. And I started talking to them. I'm like, "Hi, are y'all the dwarves?" And I would hear whispers that would say, "Hi, yeah, you want to play?" And I'm like, "What are we playing?" And we'd play like chase and stuff. One time I got freaked out because I felt like they touched me, and I cried. But the whispers were like, "Oh no, it's okay, don't cry." And so I stopped crying. But I would still play with them. But on one occasion where I realized it wasn't just my imagination, I was, my dad, there was a bar and our house was a little tilted. And he was drinking beer and with my brothers. And I had told him, I'm like, "My dwarfs, they like beer. And my dad's like, "Yeah, sure, your dwarfs like beer." And they were holding a conversation, and his beer slid upwards instead of downwards, how the house was tilted. And him and my brothers jumped up. They freaked out. They're like, "Did y'all see that?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was the dwarves." And they're like, "What?" And they didn't question me after that. They didn't ask anything. And that was like one encounter. There was also a time that my dwarfs would whisper that they like shiny things, but I didn't have a lot of shiny things. They weren't into money, they were just like shiny stuff. And my dad, when he would bring in his tools, they would disappear on him, and he was very organized. Like he had those special toolboxes, those big ones with wheels, and then he would lose them. And he would get so mad and be like, "Who touched my tools?" And nobody touched his tools. And then I remember my dwarfs would giggle. You could hear them giggling, like whisper giggling. And I tell him, "Hey, did y'all take it?" And they're like, "Yeah, he needs to find them." He's not going to find it. The game's over. Y'all win. And when I would say that, the tool would appear in a random place, like in the couch or under the kitchen table, like where it would not be. And things like that kept happening, and I feel like my family didn't take it too much into account. And my mom, I want to say, she didn't start believing me until one time. And I always believed in this, and they would like be okay with it, but they didn't like really believe me. It was just kind of like, oh, just let her have her imagination. And there's these little like coconuts. They're from the tropical. My parents would get them imported from Mexico, and I remember one time, my mom had left it in her van. There was 3 little coconuts, and we went inside, and she had made her bed, and we had went to the kitchen, and then she walked back to her room, and then she screamed, and we're all like, "What is going on?" The coconuts that she had left in the locked van appeared right in the middle of her bed, arranged. And then she has diabetes, and so that time, and I heard the whisper giggles, and that time I scolded them, and I'm like, hey, don't play like that with my family. I'm like, my mom has diabetes, it's not good for her. So that's kind of like when I established the little rules, and I'm like, look, I love y'all, and y'all are like my family, but you can't scare my family. You can play with me, but don't show yourself or harm them or anything, because, my mom has diabetes, and that really freaked her out, even though I know you didn't mean for it to go that far. And yeah, that's some childhood encounters I had.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I've got to tell you, your storytelling is phenomenal. I've just been listening here with like a giant smile on my face. Also, probably this episode will come out after the episode with Danielle. And in that episode, a pair of glasses move, which I was talking to you about in the pre-conversation. And so I totally believe you, Vicky, that the little guys were moving stuff around your place. So the beer moving against the grain, everybody jumped up. That's incredible too, because there's other witnesses to the stuff moving.
Yeah.
It sounds like a total of 4 people in that story watched that beer move against the pitch.
Yeah, they were really scared. They didn't drink after. I mean, they drank afterwards, but not that night. They stopped.
Right. Yeah. I'd wonder what's in the drinks too. Wild. And so, also like, this hasn't made it to air because the gentleman who shared the story with me, he has like a hearing problem and a speech impediment. And so he didn't feel like he could tell the story himself on a recording, like an interview, like you are able to today. But he told a really similar story to the tools going missing and then saying out loud, like, okay, the game is over. And then all the tools appearing in weird places. And in his story, I'll just share it with you really quickly because it reminds me a lot of the one you just shared. He moved into a new place and he was taking down like all this mortar and stuff over the fireplace because they were going to redo the mantle in the fireplace. And he was using a hammer to like whack away at it. And so he was like doing this and he put the hammer down on the mantle because the phone rang, and he turned around and he like had the phone call, and he came back and the hammer was just gone off of the mantle. And he could not explain it. He was the only one in the house, right? He just drove him crazy. So he drove to Lowe's and he bought another hammer.
Oh no. Ooh.
Because he couldn't find it anywhere. And he proceeded to do the work. And then he was like, his wife was home at that point, and he's like told her the story, and she's like, you probably just misplaced it, whatever. And he's got the new hammer, and he says to her, he's like, I'm putting this new hammer right here. And he puts it on the mantle again after he's done hammering for the night. He's like, watch, it's right here. And like, we're going to go to bed. And so they go to bed, they wake up in the morning, new hammer's gone. And the wife now is like, what the heck? She knows she knows it's not her because she was in bed next to the guy all night. It gets to the point of 3 hammers. He borrows a hammer from his brother who comes around. Yeah. And then he finally says, enough with the hammers. Like, this is it. And he goes to leave for work the next day and they're in the driver's seat of his car, all 3 hammers.
Oh my God.
Right.
They're sneaky.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how they move stuff. I just don't know how they do it. It's a trip for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for this amazing conversation around this early childhood stuff. So these coconuts, do you remember how they were arranged? Would just be a quick question if you can remember.
Yeah. Kind of like a little triangle because there's just 3 coconuts. So 2 on top and 1 on the bottom. But they were right in the middle of the bed. And my mom just made that bed, so there was no coconuts there. She left them in the van locked. And then she freaked out so much, she went to the van to go check. And of course they were not going to be there. It was the ones on her bed. But my poor mother, she has diabetes. She was really pale. And so I had to get on to them. I'm like, look, I know y'all usually. And that's when we strictly put the playing just between me and them. And not to scare the bejesus out of my family.
I think it's it's interesting because a number of times too, I've talked to some people that have said like, you kind of have to set some boundaries with these guys.
Yeah.
And after that, experience with stuff getting moved around in my house, basically in front of me while I'm talking live to a person, it was also I was getting hit with weird chills and goosebumps and swirls in my gut, and then that thing moved, and it was just bizarre for me. And so I'm trying to get my head around how I personally can be all right, fairies, I get it. I got a cool podcast about fairies and everything, but can you just let me be normal in my own house for a minute sometimes, please? Because it gets weird in here sometimes.
Of course, I offer them now that I'm an adult. I buy them expensive tequila, and I'll pour it in shot glasses. I do it every St. Patrick's. It's kind of like a fun thing that we have, but I do make it clear. I don't make deals with them. We're family, and I tell them this is just for me to be being nice, like y'all are nice to me, and just make sure your boundaries are clear because there are some that they're very mischievous, and some do want to strike a deal and stuff and be like, no, hey, I'm just being nice, and if I'm being nice, could you be nice and let me interview in peace? Just for the interviews, or you can even offer cookies. Yeah.
Oh man, you know what? My very first guest, Ron, talks about offering the Fae in his house a giant chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
You're bringing 22 episodes full circle with that one comment there. Wow, that's really cool, Vicky.
That's so cool because I know that I answered you in Reddit, but I really haven't listened to the podcast. But it makes me feel so much better that there's other people out there that this is common, and that it makes you feel a little more normal.
It's totally fine that you haven't listened to the show. That's not a problem at all. But what you're saying is really good for me because that's why I started this, because I felt Banana Town for 4 years. I was like, come on. And, hearing the detail and the expression in voices is way different than reading something on a Reddit comment or reading a story in the fairy census or whatever. That stuff is helpful, but you can't connect to the emotional truth of what someone really experienced by just reading written word. That's why I felt like the podcast would be useful for exactly what you're talking about, to feel more normal. You're telling the same story as the guy with the hammers, with the coconuts, and with other objects with your dad's tools. You mean you're basically telling the same story as I'm telling, with glasses moving, with the beer moving. And then my very first guest, Ron, he was so surprised to find out that he had fairies in his house. He's an older gentleman who worked in as a municipal works man, basically for Alameda County in Nevada, doing like municipal work stuff, fixing potholes, dealing with parks benches, blah, 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 right? He wasn't a fairy guy. He was just like a construction worker guy kind of thing. But he all of a sudden started to have weird activity in his house. And he went to a metaphysical bookstore. And the guy in the metaphysical bookstore said, "Ron, I think you have fairies. And what you should do is you should offer them some sweet treats. They like that sort of thing." And so he didn't really believe the guy at the metaphysical store, but he was like confused because he's having these experiences. So he went to the grocery store and he bought a big cookie and he put it on the mantle of his bed. And that night he watched groups of fairies emerge from the mirror on his headboard and land on the cookie and dance around the cookie. And it started off the relationship that is ongoing to this day with fairies in his house. And so the fact that you both have the instinct to give them cookies is just totally
like
cool.
Cookies. Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like cookies?
Yeah.
Someone recently brought me like a cookie that was like a Reese's peanut butter cup, but a cookie. Like it wasn't actually a Reese's peanut butter cup, but if you can imagine like a chocolate cookie with a peanut butter middle, it was so good. I should have saved one for the fairies, but I gobbled them all up. Well, Vicky, I'll tell you what, this is a really good segue, I think, because in your upcoming story, which takes a bit of a darker turn than this lighthearted tone we've struck at the opening here. So for and thanks for, allowing me to just do a quick, I guess, PSA for the compassionate listeners out there. This next story does involve a bit of animal violence from a fae. And so, just want to make sure that if you're not into that, you might want to tune out for the next little bit. And I'll tell you what, at the beginning of this episode, I'll tell people exactly the times to skip through so they can just not hear that part. And I'll put that at the very beginning. So what that means, Vicky, is you can just tell this freely with no constraints, because it's important to have the details able to be shared. And the segue that I was going to say was like, we're kind of talking about right now how to set rules with the Fae. And I know that what you're about to tell involves some rule setting with the Fae, of course, because of what, is about to be explained. I won't get into it, but that's the segue that I'll offer to the audience. And so, I hate to break us from laughing because it's one of my favorite things to do. I was feeling really good there, but let's actually take a minute and say, sometimes the Fae are not always good.
No, it's like they're like people, okay? So people, they got good and bad. We're not completely good. We're not completely bad. And some of them have a darker nature, but it's not because they're completely bad. It's just kind of their thing. And then you got ones that are completely bad. It's just like people. You don't know, and it's more of a gray. It's not all black and it's not all white.
I agree with that. And I think that what I'm learning is like the Fae are much more like people than not. They're very real entities. I don't think that the Fae are abject concepts. They're very we've talked about it on the show. I know you're not a listener, but they have names. They have residences. They have purposes as well. And some person might be like, it's my mission in life to become a rock star, and another person might be like, it's my mission in life to become a scientist. And someone might be like, I'm just here to work at this bakery and chill on the weekends. You know what I mean? Like everyone's different,
Exactly. Uh-huh.
And so the Fae definitely are allowed to be whatever they are. I don't like the idea. And sometimes I think some of the listeners would prefer that we just talk about happy Fae stuff. But, there's no room for just happy Fae stuff because you're then canceling out what you just said, which is the reality of the situation. It's much more nuanced. And so, I don't really mean to talk about this next Fae story like it's a dark one, but stuff around cruelty to animals is the main thing. I'm just trying to prevent a sensitive listener from hearing, not hearing about a dark fae, because we've talked about dark fae plenty on this show. And we've even talked about like how some fae are dark and how some fae aren't, and what the logic behind that might be. So you're on like home turf, you know what I mean? You're not far out from the shore in your boat here. You're well in comfortable waters with regards to seeing something, you know, darkish and having insights that might feel like, you know, on the darker side of things. But like you just rightfully pointed out, and I think I'll just leave it here, it's more nuanced. And just like, you know, me, I've got my good sides and my bad sides too. I think we all do, you know, so. If you would be so kind then, Vicky, I think this happened when you were approximately 19 or 20, I believe you said, in Mexico. Yes. And then maybe just sort of start from there. So you're in Mexico. Maybe start with what happened that day earlier and kind of walk us in.
Well, I'm in Mexico, and I'm a young mother, and I had been doing laundry and stuff. Our house there, the backyard had like a little porch, and it had where you wash dishes, and it had 3 wells, but we covered them so the kids wouldn't fall. 2 were covered with dirt and 1 was just covered. And in the very back corner, there was like a half-made room in the backyard. And then a big wall, made out of stones and bricks, kind of like a fence. And that was the whole yard. That was the whole backyard. And well, it turned into nighttime. I had put my baby to rest, and I went out to the backyard. I hadn't turned on the porch light yet, and there was a lot of moonlight, so I just went out there, made sure everything was good, and I was gonna go inside. And when I walked out and closed the door, in that area in the very back where the fence is, that block fence and that small house thing, I saw what I think was a troll. And at first I looked, you know, when you see something and you just look, you're like, what's that? And this thing, it was big, and it kind of looked like Smeagol from Lord of the Rings, but like muscular, tall, no clothing. This thing was naked and like had a little bit of hair on the top of its head. And I saw there was a stray cat crying outside, and you can see stuff because of the moonlight. And he grabbed it by the back of the legs and slammed it on the wall, and then slammed it until he killed it. And you can hear just how the cat was crying. It scared me so much. I didn't know what to do. And it proceeded to eat it like head first. And I ran inside and turned on the porch lights, and I locked everything, and the windows locked and everything. And I forced myself to sleep. I didn't even want to think about it. And days passed, and the houses in Mexico get really hot. So I didn't have a choice but to open up the windows, because I lived with my mother. She wasn't gonna be like, oh, I ain't closing it because I think there's a troll outside. You know, she's gonna be, you're crazy. And this was like, yeah, she had seen some that coconut incident, but it was had past years, and it's before she actually believed me. And and so we left it open, and it was like around 2 or 3. Good thing the baby was asleep and stuff. And the window was open. Again, there was moonlight, but we had the porch lights on. And I heard noise. I heard noises in the kitchen, and that's where it goes to the back porch. And which had the door and everything to the yard. And I didn't turn on the lights, and this thing is creeping in on all 4s. I don't know how to explain it. It went in through the window, but when it went in through the window, it kind of when it was on the floor on fours, it was a whole thing. It was that ginormous troll. And it was like creeping very like softly towards my cat. And I didn't want it to eat my cat. And I was sweating and I was scared. And I tried to whisper but yelled at it, and I'm like, "Hey, you stop." And it looked at me in shock. And then it smiled, and its teeth, I won't ever forget that. Its teeth were pointed. And it asked me, but it sounded kind of like a raspy voice, like I guess kind of like people, like kind of like people who sing heavy metal, you know, kind of like a raspy but soft. Um and it asked me if I could see it. And I answered it, yes, that's my cat. You can't eat it. And I'm like, I had to calm myself and be like, this is my home and you have to follow the rules. And it smiled and kind of like hissed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this thing gonna come after me? But I continued, and I'm like, this is my sanctuary, and Fae are welcome. I am a peaceful human, but there are rules, because I already had my dwarves and other encounters, and I'm like, you are not allowed to fight with other Fae. You aren't allowed to scare or hurt my family, including pets. My friends, my Fae, we are family, so no favors are forced, no exchanges. We love and respect each other. I'm not the master of anyone. You are not the master of anyone. You are allowed to stay as long as you want or leave when you please. And after saying that stuff, it like slithered back the way it came. And just to make sure everything was okay, once it was morning at that little house in that corner of the yard, that room that was like semi-made, I put cookies there. And after that, I did encounter him far away, but we're friends. He never ate my cats. But as far as I know, his nature was to eat cats. That was his thing. So even though he ate cookies, he ate cats.
Cookies and cats.
Yeah, I know that sounds so. I say it sounds. I know that's why I was okay talking to you, because that just sounds weird.
You know what? It sounds like a perfect name for this episode, actually. But I think that'll probably be an insight into the creative process of how I name things. You know what? I totally believe you. And there's one thing I wanted to just ask really quick. Because when you were talking about it coming into your house, the audio started to do weird things there, which is...
Yeah, because I have been many years involved with Fae, and some of them have told me to not talk about it. But with a lot of things that have happened, I have earned, and they know why, and that's why I'm still allowed to talk to you, and they don't block the audio completely.
Interesting. So the thing I wanted to just... sorry, we just had a bit of lag there. I'll edit that up later. The thing I wanted to ask was you said, here's what happened. You said, when it started to come in the window, and then the audio just cut out. So I don't know what it was doing when it came in the window. Could you describe that again?
Yeah, it was like, it looked like smoke, and it was crawling on all four. Like when it touched, it became solid.
The audio almost did it again there. It didn't want to let you say the word smoke. That interesting. Really interesting that it would happen at the same time of a story twice. You know, when I was interviewing Danielle, so just for the audience listening, the way that I record is like Vicky is being recorded in one place and I'm being recorded in another. And then later I can separate us if we accidentally talked over one another, so we can fix that and stuff like that, right? So we're not actually being recorded together in one channel. We are on separate channels. I mentioned this for what I'm about to say next. So I was talking with Danielle, and there's a part where I'm asking her a bunch of questions about Sasquatch for about 15 minutes, because she had an encounter with one spiritually. And when I look at the two audio signals, I can see myself we talked for 2 hours, Danielle and I. So here's me, it's like a wave form. So you can see your voice in representation like a wave, and look, that's when I'm talking. That's when Danielle's talking. This is when I'm talking. That's when Danielle's talking, etc. We get to the part where I'm asking her questions about Sasquatch. And here's what's really blowing my mind. I can hear her part. She's answering me. Oh yeah, yep. And then yes, no problem. But my audio waveform is just missing for that entire 15 minutes. And it doesn't make sense, because like if she's answering me, that means my mic was working. If her recording's coming through, that means the audio software is working. If everything else up to that portion of conversation that I said is there, and I didn't start or stop the recording midstream, which I did not, then where the hell did the 15 minutes of me talking go?
That's crazy.
I know. And then it stops after I'm done talking about Sasquatch, pops back in, and the audio for the rest of the interview, the next 40 minutes, is there. And I was looking at this, and I edit audio all the time because I edit this show, and I could not figure it out. I'm like, where... Because like I thought for a second, maybe I hit the mute button by accident on my physical microphone, because it does have a round mute button. But then you can hear Danielle answering me, even though I'm not recorded. So like clearly she's not answering no one. Like you know what I mean? So it doesn't even make any sense. And what this entire time we've been talking, you've had almost no audio lag up until you talked about it coming in the window as smoke.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't let it happen. So the Fae do appear to be able to influence technology real time, and also after the fact as well.
Yeah.
Which is so strange to me. Now, you mentioned that you saw it a third time. Can you tell me a little bit more about when you saw it again far away?
Oh, I've seen him several times. We've talked too. But
does it have a name to your knowledge? The cat eater?
No, you see, none of them given me their name. I give them names because their names are kind of like sacred. Having their names, you get a lot of control.
Interesting.
Like it's some rule that they have. So if they do give you a name, it's usually a name they make up. It's how they want to be called. That's why they never say my name is. They say you can call me, or I am addressed as, but that doesn't mean that that's their name.
Also, what you're saying now is mirrors exactly what Alara, this woman I talked to who's in direct communication with an elf, said. About their names and having power over them, and them not like
have lots. Yeah.
So I mean, actually, Vicky, you have certainly tied together at least, I'm not even exaggerating, 15 or 16 episodes, like where you've now like touched on a key point of what like somebody else brought forward as an original idea to the narrative flow here. Wow, super cool. Thank you so much for this. And thanks for your energy and storytelling. It's infectious, I gotta say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I call him, I just call him troll in Spanish, el troll. And I found out my dwarfs like gambling, so I'll put little poker cards for them. And I found out that the troll enjoys gambling with them. I don't know what they bet, but...
Wow. May I, if it's okay with you, may I ask you some questions about the troll's appearance? The one that... Okay, so About how tall? I want to make sure I got that part right.
Well, let's see. I don't, maybe like 8 foot, maybe taller than that.
Oh, wow.
Because he's a big fella.
And naked, with some hair on the top of his head.
And yes, doesn't like putting on clothes till this day. And kind of like when I started saw that the dwarfs actually wear clothing. I one time told them, "Hey, are you just gonna be walking around like that? You need to put something on." He threw a scarf on. When I told him to put something on. Hello?
I'm there.
Hello?
I'm there. Hi, can you hear me okay? Hello? Are you still there? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah. Connected. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Wow, they didn't like that.
I was funny. Okay, it's because he doesn't wear clothes. I told him to wear clothes and he threw a scarf on.
Oh my goodness. Are you there again? This is so great. As soon as you talk about the scarf, the audio just goes, because he knows
what he looked like. Oh my gosh.
I love this episode so much already, and I'm just recording it. It's not even out yet. Wow. Okay. I'll tell you what. I mean,
my gosh. Well, yeah.
You know, I feel
no clothes, completely naked.
You know what's funny is I'm getting this like weird intuition right now where I'm like, this bro feels like he's getting made fun of, and that's why he's shutting down the audio.
Because he is. No, he puts.
Oh my goodness, it's happening again so badly. It's happening again so badly right now. Okay, look, I'll tell you what, Troll, Mr. Troll, we full respect for just humans, you know, laugh at other people that don't wear clothes. Yeah, we're just having fun, bro. Anyway,
he acts like he hasn't done stuff to me. Yeah, he knows well. Yeah.
As soon as we acknowledged him that way, the audio has cleaned up. Wow.
Yeah. Nah, he's a nice fellow. He just he likes being naked, and that's how you can tell he's a male.
Got it.
And his skin is kind of like a grayish. That's why he said he kind of looks like Smeagol. You know how Smeagol looks in the dark?
Yeah, the guy who's like my precious guy, the Lord of the Rings guy. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but he's not scrawny like that. He's muscular, but he has that texture. The skin texture is like that. The skin is gray. Yes, sharp teeth. His teeth are like in point, but when he smiles, they close completely. Like, I don't see how that's possible, but they like neatly close. Yeah.
Oh, like if you were to draw a smile with zigzags, and so like the teeth totally.
Yeah. Yes, and I don't see how, but they do. They like close completely. Yeah.
Fascinating. When you say muscular, are we talking like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, big? Are we talking like?
Yeah. It's like muscular. And the troll I know doesn't have a belly, but one time I was passing a bridge and I saw a bunch of them. It was really late at night. It was like 2 a.m. We were coming back from another town in Mexico. And there was a bridge and there were so many trolls there. There were just so many, and they're all pretty muscular, but some of them have bellies. Some of them have like a beer belly.
Huh. Interesting. What were they doing when you saw them?
Well, I didn't know what they were doing. I actually asked my troll friend, "Hey, why are there like a bunch of trolls at this?" It's I say it's a bridge, but it's kind of overruns in Mexico. There's rivers, so there's like I don't know, and and, and to like fast troll, and it's like like something sacred to them.
The audio is again doing the strangest thing.
Okay, then maybe I shouldn't talk about that.
I've never really heard audio deconstruct that particular way before. I'm so glad I'm recording this because we'll get to play that for the audience. You know what? It's interesting. Like, although it's a bit of a struggle to get the story out about these trolls, the fact that every other time we're talking about anything, the audio is fine until we start talking about specific details around the trolls, and then it gums up is fascinating in and of itself.
Yeah, it's just like I tell you, I've been around Faye a long time. I'm 33 now, and I've witnessed a lot of things, and probably things that no other human being might be able won't be able to talk about. And they don't like for me to talk about it, but with all the things that I have like it's happened, I kind of won my right to talk about things.
You know, I feel like that's a really powerful statement you're making. And I don't know the full story, but I get the sense that, like, you've just seen so much and you've had so much interaction. Like, you get now to, like, they, you know, for you to keep it secret is sort of like them asking a lot of you. You know, you are allowed to talk about it if they're going to be this involved in your life.
Yeah, there's things I can't talk about, but I'm just going to tell you I did something that kind of helped them. But I suffered a lot for it. Like, I suffered, like, I was at that day that I told you about the troll story. I was having a little meltdown because I'll get flashbacks of things that have happened that weren't so good. But I endured these things and it helped them out. And because of that, I have a right to speak about things.
This episode is fascinating because, I mean, as soon as we shifted conversations away from the troll, the audio popped back clear immediately. And it's just so interesting. And I'll tell you what, let's try if you can get into the description of your dwarf's physical appearances a little bit, if that's okay.
Oh, okay. Well, one of my... He's the rascally little one. One of the dwarfs, he's a fancy one because he dresses in white, all white. Out of all of them, because all of the other ones use red and leathers and everything. And he uses leather too, but it's all white. He uses a little white hat, but they're not pointy like they make the gnomes. They're kind of like more soft. I want to I know, like Dopey from the Snow White.
Oh, yeah.
Dopey, his hat. The hats look like, but it's nice. It's like a vest with leather and belts, and they usually wear pants and work boots. They look like work boots, but they most of the time don't have laces. They're just kind of like pull-on boots.
Sure, like a Bluntstone. How tall are these guys?
Yeah.
Approximately?
Okay, so with the dwarfs, they actually can kind of change their height.
Cool.
So the dwarfs when I was little, when they played with me, I guess to not scare me, stayed a standard like 8-inch height. But I have seen them, and it's the same dwarf, or it's not a different dwarf, because there's several, they're all my friends. But it's the same ones I know, and they can get up to the height of a 3-year-old toddler that I've seen.
Fascinating. So one question I want to ask you about how you're seeing them. And again, like I'm asking any questions here respectfully and just out of curiosity. And I'll just sort of preface my question for a second with saying like, what I saw, I mean, I physically saw with my eyes, I heard it with my ears. The other person I was with physically saw it as well. Some people like Danielle, my last guest, are more like channeling the entities, and she's actually channeling them into physical clay forms. Like she's making dolls, clay dolls that are very lifelike.
Yeah, you can do that, and you can actually summon them that way when they can't get solid.
Tell me a little bit more about that, if you could.
Okay, well, I don't know how to do it, but I have bought in Mexico. They used to sell these little necklaces that said they were dwarfs. But I remember most of them were trolls. I could like tell because they looked different. And I dug through all the necklaces and I found a dwarf. And it was he was carved out of wood. So it was and they had statues, but I couldn't afford the statues. And I bought the necklace, and then you kind of like, it was like it had a little paper with it. It was kind of like a little ritual. And it's kind of like you wake them up and then they take a solid form. I don't know how to explain that.
I think you explained it very well. And thank you for, sharing that knowledge that you have, even though like it's a bit limited. It's totally fascinating. It's interesting because Danielle was talking about how she channels them into form. And what's so weird to me is when she sent me an email, because that's how she got in touch with me, was with my Outlook email. She sent me an email first that I missed, and then she sent because she forgot to send pictures of the dolls she makes to the first email. She sent a second email with the pictures, just the pictures. And the way that my Outlook serves me up my email is it puts the most recent email from a correspondent first. So I open up my email and all I see is just this picture of a doll, like a 2-foot tall doll wearing like realistic clothing, looking like a wizard. And I'm looking at this picture in my email, and I get full body goosebumps, like crazy full body goosebumps looking at this figurine. And this is before I talked to her, and I know she's going to listen to this. Hi, Danielle. But I was like, what the heck? Why am I like, I was like, am I? Yeah. I really kind of like had a bit of a moment with myself. I'm like, am I smoking too much weed? Like, because I do smoke a lot of pot. I ran cannabis dispensaries. So, I was like, man, am I just giving myself goosebumps looking at this silly doll? And then later when we were talking, she starts describing her process and the motivation behind that particular doll. And it totally connected with me that I was in fact looking at a representation of a real fae. And that's why I was getting so crazily lit up. And as we're talking about that, pretty shortly thereafter is when the glasses come sailing off the counter.
Oh my God.
I know. And
he's like, I'm gonna miss guy.
Like I said at the top of the show, I don't really have a fae background, so what the heck am I supposed to make of all this over here? Like, I'm a middle-aged white guy in Canada. This is not straight up. Sometimes it's not okay,
No.
and so
Trust me, it even though I have years of it, they throw me off sometimes too. There was one time I was falling asleep. My room light was turned off, but my door was cracked, so there was light coming in. And I felt something grab my toe when I was falling asleep and pull on it. And I woke up, I was scared. I was like, what is that? And then I see just the dwarf run out the door, and the door moves, of course, with the movement. I'm like, freaking dwarf, he's just scared the crap. After that, I couldn't sleep. He scared the crap out of me.
I mean, if something pulled my toe in bed, that would be hard for me to get back to sleep too. I'd start sleeping with steel-toed boots on, probably.
I could hear him giggle. I'm like, freaking dwarf. Oh my God. That's how we play. It's a thing.
That reminds me of my
gosh.
question, actually, because we got a little bit sidetracked talking about the physical forms that they can be like put into. My question for you was going to be, Vicky, and again, I asked this out of respect. When you see them, how are you seeing them exactly? How would you describe that?
So I'll feel something. I'll see shadows. I'll hear whispers. But sometimes they slip up. You see, if you can see them, it's because they let you see them.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that fairy that you encountered. Her cloak dropped. She might have been running away from something. The way you say she flittered in and was like in between you and your wife. She could have been running away from something, because it's really rare that they drop their cloak like that.
I'll tell you a bit more about it just for some context, because that's a good intuition with not more information. I was like I was on board a 75-foot art boat that I had to, like, this is me talking in retrospect here. We had painted this boat to look like orca whales, and I was using it for animal rights activism. And we had like christened the boat with a bottle of mead. Earlier you talked about how they like, fine alcohol. And then my partner and I had seen an owl earlier in the day we had brought the boat like out to a provincial park, and we parked it at anchor in the middle of like a totally pristine West Coast wilderness bay, pretty much. And so when this thing came in, we were in the middle of like laughing our faces off, drinking mead, having a great time on this magic boat in this magic place. And I'm pretty sure that it dropped the veil intentionally. And actually, I mean, if I'm completely honest, and I've said it before, that fairy started this podcast. It didn't leave me with a choice except to eventually have a show where I talk to people that also saw fairies. I just feel like it's the inevitable conclusion of that event for me in more ways than one. I'm thankful for it big time, because this podcast means a lot to me. Being able to talk with people and feel less crazy, like you said at the beginning. Really great point.
Yes.
Yeah. And also just to talk to other people and feel like, because once you get past, oh, I'm not crazy, then it starts to get really interesting. What's going on here? What in fact is Earth all about? What the heck is reality all about? I mean, there's a lot of big questions that open up.
I want to say they're kind of like, they do have a dimension, but they also have their own dimension. And I'm telling you this because of things that have happened with me. So sometimes when you sleep and you think you're dreaming, you're not dreaming. If they want to, like I say, this is a big thing. They can allow you into their realms, and you can do that by sleeping. But there is, I guess, a consequence. It is dangerous because you can kind of die when you're sleeping, but not because something happens to you in the realm, but more because you just kind of leave your body there. And if you don't get back to the proper place, well then, you kind of stuck as a ghost.
I like to ask all of my guests the same question, and I think you answered it in part, but I'm going to give you a chance to answer it more completely here, I think, if it's okay. So let me ask this question, since you've kind of opened up this topic for me. What I like to ask people is this, Vicky. I say, first of all, there's no wrong answer, and there's definitely no right answer, because nobody has a fairy in a jar that they're studying, so no one knows for sure.
Yeah.
But my question is this. It's really simple, really, but it's just basically, what do you think that fairies are?
Interdimensional beings, and they have, I guess, what we would call magic, but it's just kind of like their logic in their world.
I really like that answer. It's so much the same as like what I say all the time. I think that they're real. I think that they're like another dimension away or above or below, depending on the Fae.
Like crossover. Yeah, it's so strange.
Yeah, like the thing I saw, like, I don't know what it's like when you see them when they slip up, but for me, it was the weirdest visual thing to see I could imagine.
Yeah, it's really hard because your brain tries to comprehend. I feel like that's why we get chills and we kind of feel a little bit of a panic because it doesn't fit. We know what our world is, and then this thing that doesn't fit this world.
Yeah, and the movement is too...
It's different. Yeah, it's different. The way they move. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're either too fast or too slow or like the troll, like a smoke. Like, what is that?
Yeah, or sometimes they're too smooth, too.
Yeah, that. Yes.
Too precise.
Or when they're I've seen some that are too beautiful. It hurts to look at them, like you're like in trance.
I would say that the thing I saw would fall into that category.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I've never seen anything quite so breathtaking.
Yeah.
And this might be weird to say, but there's a sort of loss because I don't know if I'm ever going to see anything as breathtaking again.
Yes, that's normal. They have that thing on us humans.
It mucked up my high watermark for being astonished, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like I could be like, looking at like the most beautiful view and it would be like, oh, I don't know, that fairy was way more spectacular.
Yeah.
Huh. I love that what we just exchanged there, because that's the part that I really, I don't know, when someone's really seen them, they react exactly like that. It's too smooth. So what you are looking at, what you're looking at, but your eyes can't make sense of it on a level that's hard to put into words. It's not like looking at other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great answer to the question of what fairies are. So I think what I like to do here is, just out of respect for your time, out of respect for the audience's time, as we've spoken for a little over an hour here already, if you have any other sort of standout Fae encounters that you'd like to tuck in here at the end, I'd love to let you have some time to do that. Otherwise, I could ask you a couple of, wrap-up questions and let you get on with your evening, whatever you feel most comfortable with here, Vicky.
Well, there is one. I didn't see him that time, but it was funny. It's a short one, and it happened last year on St. Patrick's Day. So on St. Patrick's Day, like I tell you, I put them little tequilas on the table, and I had the little deck of cards and put it in the middle, and my brother came over. We were gonna do a cookout. And he saw the tray. He's like, what's that? And he was about to drink some. I'm like, no, that's not for you. I'm like, there's a bottle over there. You'd like some. And he grabbed some. He's like, the dwarf doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. He was making fun of me, right? And my brother, when he was about to take his shot, he feels someone tug on his shirt hard. And he freaks out and picks up the kitchen knife was on the table because we were doing, we were prepping stuff. And he points it, like, hey. I'm like, don't be mean to the dwarf. He's just playing with you. He's like, what was that? I'm like, that was the dwarf. No, it wasn't. I'm like, yeah, it was. And I was just laughing at him. I got him to calm down, and he took his tequila shot.
Amazing. I love that they've got a playful relationship, with you and your family. And it's just so fascinating that although we can't physically see them, they are able to definitely physically interact with us and with objects in our reality.
Oh my gosh.
What's really interesting is like, you can for sure, and this is not unique to any one particular guest, I would say. I've definitely had this come up with more than one person when I'm talking to them. I feel like you can feel the Fae when they're being talked about.
Oh yes, they definitely listening. Yeah.
which is like it begs a lot of questions, like how are they knowing that I'm talking about them right now? That's the first question. Second is like, well, how are they hearing me? And then third, it's like, why is it that not just myself, but sometimes other people I'm with definitely get like a goosebump reaction, like the chills, feel the swirls in their gut, feel sometimes like temperature changes. That's happened.
Yeah.
Like sudden drops in temperature, like or sudden increases in temperature in a very localized area that it's just unexplainable. And then so like what the heck are they doing? Like and then I guess by that measure it's like, so they have some degree of omnipotence where they can kind of observe a lot of people and a lot of actions going on simultaneously, it would appear. And like, so how do we ourselves like feel them? That's one question I'm really struggling with. It's like, what exactly are these goosebumps? Is it me tricking myself into a physical reaction? I don't think so, because they hit at weird times and they fully encompass me and I can't shut them down rationally. I'm like, I am feeling something in this room right now, like next to me. It's crazy. That's the like, I can feel it. And I guess that's more like woo woo. I can feel it. But the other thing that Fae can do, other than make you feel them, is they can move stuff. Like Bonnie and Therese, guests in a previous episode, talk about Therese talks about losing her glasses and the house fairies that she's friends with returning them for her. And then the glasses got knocked off the table the next time I talked to somebody, almost like the Fae are like listening to the show. And then they're like, hey, Jim, just in case you didn't believe Bonnie and Therese about them moving glasses, we're going to move some glasses right in front of you. Just to confirm them. And that stuff where like one guest seems to narratively confirm the next is also very frequent experience for me. And I mean, I just don't know what to say other than there's something remarkable about the Fae. They're very intelligent, it would appear.
Yes.
Like highly sophisticated, very thoughtful. I wouldn't want to play chess against them. They seem totally like on another.
No. Have years of experience in their game.
Yeah, they're on another level with regards to how they're existing.
As far as I know, they live hundreds of years and can look the same.
I've heard this as well.
That beats our experience.
It's hard not to feel sometimes like the junior player on this team hosting this podcast. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm like as a human, I kind of feel like, oh, we're just this isn't even my analogy, but it's like someone else's, I can't remember, but they're talking about how if you were an ant and you were climbing around on the tire of a tractor trailer truck, right? You would have no idea that you were about to get squished when that tractor trailer truck started to roll, because your perspective on things as an ant is just like, I'm walking on this big thing, you know? I kind of feel like sometimes like, well, I'm never going to actually understand this. I'm never really going to have answers. I'm just always going to be confused and always fascinated. And that's not a bad thing, you know, but it's like, it's sort of like the macho man in me is like, oh, I should be able to figure this out. I should, you know, the Fae should be my bitch, not the other way around. You know, but I don't think that's going to ever happen. I just don't see it. You know, but it makes me feel a little bit like demasculated that something can come in my house and move glasses around without me being able to stop it, you know?
But see, that's why, like, I'm glad you have the podcast and I will help you out. When you have Fae friends, the Fae friends, you treat them, I treat mine. They're equal. They're my family. They protect my house from Fae that could harm me. Fae that like harming. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool to think about the fact that, there's a cultivatable relationship. And you know what? Maybe I'm going to start really like leaning into that idea and see what happens. So.
Yeah, because like they know, like if I were to ever find out something happens to them, I would mourn them. I would cry for them. They are my everything. That's why I would try to be normal sometimes and try to like forget, but I couldn't because I love them so much. Forgetting would mean like kind of letting go.
I think I understand what you're saying. Like you're okay with the fact that you see Fae. You don't want to push that aside.
No, I've seen them since I was 8. They're my family.
It's a powerful message for everyone listening. Vicky, you're infectious energy, great storyteller, but that last bit there, I think, is like kind of the sleeper home run. Like you're really saying something important, which is like, don't deny your clairvoyant intuition, your perception. This stuff is real. Don't do what the society is trying to make all of us do, which is suppress our magical selves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I mean, I said it, but you're like saying it throughout this entire episode without saying it through your example of this great storytelling and just the honesty. So I really appreciate you, and I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much for doing that, because it's like I can only do it so much, and I think the Fae are real too. I don't think it's a joke. I don't. It gets weird fast when you try to understand it, but it's not a joke. Just because it gets weird fast when you try to understand it doesn't make it not real. That's for sure. The two things can be true at the same time. And that's the easiest way to say this is all just imagination, is it is weird, and it does seem to have a whole set of like cosmically developed rules, playbooks. I mean, there's some facts that you could probably line up in a spreadsheet about the Fae. And then there's some stuff that you just have to kind of feel your way through, like a person with a blindfold on in a hedge maze, like doubly screwed. You can't see and you're in a maze, it's, but through it all, what you just said is, I think, the most important thing that, at least for me, has emerged, which is like, I also don't want to stop looking into this. I also don't want to stop. Like when those glasses moved, I mean, it's I kind of want it to happen again. Low key, I kind of like, definitely want to see some other stuff move around my house if that's gonna happen. I mean, like let's see it. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I shouldn't be careful what I'm asking for.
No, well, be friends with them. See, that's the thing. I feel like some Fae, that's why they get offended. They get angry at people. But if you see them, we're not that different. We're the same. We both love. We both feel. Become friends with them. No bargains, no trades, none of that stuff. Just friends, real friends.
It's just like what Bonnie and Therese said. Just they're like real people, and you can have real relationships with them. And both of them talk about like feeling less alone in their lives because they have friends that are the Fae. Yeah. I like that, and I agree with that. And for all the Fae listening, and I know that the Fae do listen, hope I'm doing justice when I host these shows. And I like to think that I'm a friend of the Fae over here at Fascinating Fae. That's a lot of F alliteration in one sentence. Well, Vicky, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap up, I think, on this high note of friendship with the Fae, this beautiful message, of solidarity with the interdimensional kin that live around us all of the time. And so what I'd like to do is just a little bit of housekeeping before I let you go, and then I'll give you the last word. So think about some of the last things that you might want to say to the awesome, rapidly growing audience for this show. So first of all, for the audience listening, thank you for being here. I sincerely appreciate it. And I don't know if it's just like the act of continually doing it or what, but the past few weeks have been amazing for audience growth, and I really like that, and I just want to say thank you. So keep it happening however you guys are doing it, because it's not me. I barely get on social media to promote this show. If you would like to also be on the show, you can shoot me an email. My name again, it's Jim, and the email address is encounters@fascinatingfae.com. I'm not that up to speed on the website all of the time, but I do put the photos and images that some guests refer to up on the website at fascinatingfae.com as well, if you want to pop over there and take a look. Forgive me if it's not as up to date as I could be, but I usually will do like 5 or 6 episode updates at once. And so with all that sort of gentle housekeeping done, I want to just sort of turn back to Vicky here for a second. Vicky, again, amazing storytelling, amazing like set of stories, very detail rich, totally infectious storytelling energy. I mean, you should get into public speaking. That's my personal opinion. With all that said, a super big thanks on behalf of all of our human and non-human listeners tuning into Fascinating Fae tonight. And Vicky, the last word is all yours. Take it away.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I will look into your channel, and I feel so welcomed, and I'm glad to hear other people have similar experience. And just want you to know you can have a beautiful relationship with the Fae, and we need to see that they are just like us.
Woke up this morning, I held my head, I'm thinking, where was my warning? I rolled on out of bed, and then I went to see my father. I said, Papa, am I blind? Won't you tell me when I'll see the view atop this climb? And he said, the summertime is knocking at my door. I'm feeling fine when she's rocking in my boat, and I could happily remain. Into the evening, and now the sun is set. I'm thinking, why am I grieving? It's something I don't get it. But then I went to see my mother. I said, Mama, am I blind? Won't you tell me when I'll see the view atop this climb? And she said, the summertime is knocking at my door. I'm feeling fine when she's rocking in my boat, and I could happily remain. But pages turn and seasons change. No one can avoid the rain. We just wait, and the night will come to end. It's knocking at my door. I'm feeling fine when she's rocking in my boat, and I could happily remain. The pages turn and seasons change, but no one can avoid the rain. We just wait, and the night will come to end. The summertime is knocking at my door. I'm feeling fine when she's rocking in my boat.